Hello, next class on the list, class 462 or whatever we're on now. Another lying down one. Next one after this one I'll do a standing up one, but today will be a lying down one. So as usual, grab your whatever you need, your block, your mat, your bit of space, grab your bit of time to yourself. And we'll get going. As always, just check that there's nothing going to be in your way because it's annoying once you get started. So just have a quick scan around your space, make sure nothing needs moving. And we're good. I'll check your time, make sure I'm not going to keep you too long. About 60 minutes, thereabout. But remember, you can stop and start as you want to, as your time allows. So get yourself down on your mat, on your back, block underneath your head or rolled up towel underneath your neck if you want to. And relax. Little fidget if needs be around the shoulders and the lower back. Get yourself comfy, legs bent or straight, whichever feels most comfortable for you at this stage. And breathe. Not too slow that you're waiting for the next breath, but equally make sure you're not breathing too shallowly and not getting yourself a full breath in. So feel your ribcage move gently. And just feel your breath start to relax any tension that might be in your joints, in your limbs. Let it go. Start to stretch out a little bit along the mat rather than sinking into it. So you've got a natural curve in your lower back and a natural curve in your neck. Just draw the abdominal muscles in just a little bit, just to support that curve in your back. And then when you're ready, turning your head from side to side. And that's all we're doing. We're keeping the shoulders down, keeping the spine neutral, just turning the head. Might be a bit of creaking in the neck if it's a little bit tight. But hopefully start to feel it just loosening up, getting a little bit easier, and maybe the move gets a little bit bigger. Hold your head to one side just long enough to take a breath in and out, and then back to centre. So we're starting to just lengthen the stretch a little bit. Just lengthen the time we're in that stretch. Okay, and then bring your head back to centre. Reset the shoulders if need to be. Bend your arm, put your hand just lightly on your shoulder. Either start with whichever one you want. Remember, I always start with my right one, but whichever one you want. And then start to circle the elbow around. Try and keep the rib cage still as you do this. So a little squeeze of those centre muscles again to stop the rib cage lifting. About 5 circles each way, thereabouts. So you've gone in one direction, just reverse it. Check you're not pushing back with your head. Move your feet out or in a little bit, make sure your lower back feels comfy. Okay, so we've done 4 or 5 in each direction, still working on the same arm. Then straighten the arm and start to circle the arm. And you're trying to make a bigger circle, but still keeping the rib cage level, so the side you're working on isn't lifting up and away. See if you can get a little bit closer to the side of your head and a little bit further round on each circle. And then reverse it. Keep the arm bent. If it's feeling all creaky or you've got that point where you can feel it catch, then stay with the bent arm. Okay, and then stay on the other arm. So start with it bent, circling it round. Little squeeze of the rib cage in and down. I can't say that and move my arm at the same time. Both directions. You're going to find one arm is easier and loosens up quicker than the other. So if that one's feeling okay and you want to go into your straight arm, you can pull the ribcage down towards the hips as your arm travels back. And it'll just help you to stretch into that shoulder a little bit, improve your reach. In both directions. Oops, it's my new watch scratching on the floor. Okay, and if that's feeling okay, you can go into both arms. But remember, go back and repeat if it's not feeling quite ready for the full stretch. But if you're alright, lift both arms up and pull them back, and at the same time pull the ribcage down the body. So you're getting a nice upper back stretch, and then round towards your feet. Really keep that ribcage pulled down. So you're starting to work the upper back muscles a little bit. I'm going to focus quite a lot on them today, so we want to warm them up. You want to keep a soft bend in the elbow, that's fine. And again, you can leave the arms back for a breath in and out if you want to. But try not to let that overarch your back. Try and keep it neutral. Okay, and on your next one, just lace your fingers together and put your hands underneath your head. Okay, just check at first how your shoulders are sitting. And basically looking at your elbows, is one elbow higher than the other? My left is always higher than my right. Are they a long way away from the floor? Do we need to do more work on these chest muscles to stretch them? So first of all, you're just seeing what you're working with, and then you're going to bring the elbows in. And as you take your elbows out and down towards the floor, you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together a little bit and release. So I really want you to start to think less about what your elbows are doing and more about what your shoulder blades are doing. So as you bring your arms in towards your head, your shoulder blades are widening across your back, and then they're narrowing as your arms move out. If you're really tight in the shoulders, you might find it easier to just do one at a time to start with, rather than trying to get them both working together. So again, just go back and do that if you want to. When this starts to feel easier, you take your elbows out and squeeze your shoulder blades together and just stay in that position while you take your deep breath in. Don't keep pushing, just go to your range where it feels comfortable to hold it and breathe deep. And then release the breath and back in with the arms. So each time you go to that point where it feels comfortable, hold it for your breath. Next time you'll be a little bit further out and it still feels comfortable. Reset the shoulders if they feel they're trying to come up around your ears. Good. Okay, then take your hands from underneath your head and put your elbows on the floor with your fingertips facing up to the ceiling. We will do one arm at a time to start with. So I'm going to start with my arm closest to you, which is my left. So you're going to move your hand towards the floor, backwards and forwards. So you're just pivoting on that elbow. Try not to force the shoulder joint. So you're just letting the arm pivot backwards and forwards. And again, I want you to focus less on what your hand is doing and more on what the shoulder's doing. I want you to feel that rotation in that shoulder joint. And when that's had a few, move over and do the same on the other one. Just backwards and forwards. You can always put a cushion or a towel underneath your elbow if that's feeling a bit sore, but try and resist groping for the floor with your fingers. All you're going to do is force your shoulder out of position. So just let your hands stay nice and relaxed and just move the arm backwards and forwards. And again, once you've done one on its own, when you've done both on their own and it feels looser, you can do them both together and just check the difference. There's going to be some. Your shoulders aren't perfectly symmetrical because you don't work both arms the same way. But you're just checking if there's big differences, if one shoulder needs a bit more work. So just feel that rotation in that shoulder. Check you're not tensing your neck. Especially if we get onto a part of the body that we know we struggle with, then we tend to lock up we sort of anticipate problems. So keep relaxing the shoulders and don't force any work. Okay, then arms out to the side, palms facing up. Bend the knees if you haven't already, and bring the knees and feet together, and then we're going to work in our nice twisting to start to loosen the hips and the lower back. So just taking the legs from side to side. Keeping your shoulders flat to the floor now, so you might not twist very far if your hips and your lower back's a bit tight. It doesn't matter. Turning your head and looking the other way. But what I would like you to try to make sure you do, if you can, is that you stack your feet. If you go over with your feet sort of next to each other, then your legs are really just rocking in the hip joint. There's no rotation of that centre of the spine. So stack your feet one on top of the other, so you're trying to bring the pelvis over, not just the legs. And you start to feel looser, the move feels a little bit easier. You start to slow down and hold that stretch for just a bit longer. But remember, you just go into that point where you feel comfortable and staying for your breath. Relax the opposite shoulder into the floor. Turn your head and look towards that shoulder if you want to. And really think about trying to bring this hip up and over and lining it up with the bottom hip. Add on the legs straighten if you want to. It kind of helps. The clock's got in the way. So you go over and then straighten your top leg and push out through your foot. So the weight of the top leg is going to bring that top hip over a bit further. Lift it off the bottom leg if that feels more comfortable in your hip. Quite a nice bit of hamstring stretch while you're at it if your hamstrings are a bit tight. Push the heel of that top foot away, like you're trying to push the wall away from you. Sink the opposite shoulder into the floor. Rotation is where we do have limited movement in the spine, just not because we're built that way. We're built to have a lot of rotation, but we don't tend to do it. We don't do much twisting. So just trying to maintain that as much as we can. Okay, and then come back to centre. I'm going to start to work through the hips, knees and ankles a little bit. So reset yourself. Start with your knees bent, shoulders relaxed, arms just down by your side. Reset the pelvis, so you've got a natural curve in your lower back and a straight line down your front. And then just tighten the muscles to hold you in that shape. And I want you to slide your right leg out along the floor and slide it back in. Trying to keep your weight just above the bottom of your spine. So you've got your coccyx, your tailbone, and just above that you've got your sacrum. And I want you to just stay on that plate of bone underneath you. So you're just working from the hip, knee and ankle. Lower back is staying in position. I want you to just draw your waist muscles in a little bit, like your belt's a bit tight around the middle, just squeezing you in a bit. And that will stop your hips rocking from side to side. Okay, now when you're ready, with the legs straight, you're going to pull the leg up away from the floor. No higher than the other knee. Back down and bring the foot in. So you slide it out, get the leg straight. Once the leg is straight, you're going to tense those thigh muscles on that straight leg and you're going to lift it off the floor. Trying to keep that curve in your back and your abs tight. So what we're doing here, we're using the front leg muscles to lift the leg, which means we're stretching the back leg muscles. So you might feel it on the back of your thigh. Just straighten and lift. Just until you feel that stretch on the back of your thigh, maybe around the knee area. Keep drawing the abdominal muscles up. So I don't want you to use your lower back for this one. We need to use this hip, that's flexion at the hip joint to lift the leg up. One more. Smashing. Okay, and then to get into the hips a little bit, have your feet apart, as wide as you can really with your feet. Leggings need a bit of adjusting on this one. So your knees are wide as well. Any hip replacement, you stay here. just to start to get that inner thigh stretch, because we're going to do some internal rotation. I don't want you to put your hip out. The rest of you are going to rock your legs like windscreen wipers on the windscreen, just rocking from side to side. You're going to get a little bit of lift on your hip, but not like you're doing supine twist, because this is working inside the hip joint. And you're bringing the leg down towards the middle of your mat. So the inside, you're rocking to the inside of your foot and the inside of your knee. If you haven't got your feet and knees wide enough apart when you do this, they kind of get in each other's way. You know, you got your windscreen wipers out of sync, or one of them's broken. It didn't quite get out the way for the other one to clean the windscreen. It's the same here. You want a nice wide gap. Let your feet rock. So we're just loosening inside that hip a little bit. It gets locked in position because we were in one position for a long time. Imagine if you're sitting down, you're going to be there for at least half an hour, aren't you? And you get up and everything's been locked in position, so you're just trying to loosen it up a bit. And then we do the other way. So bring the feet back to about hip distance apart. Appropriate for everybody, this hip replacement you can join in. Now keep your pelvis still, so find your neutral position just above that tailbone, straight line down the front, and then just squeeze in enough to hold you in shape. Your left knee is going to stay facing up to the ceiling, and you're going to use your outer thigh and your bum muscles to move your right leg out to the side. And bring it back in. And the same on the other leg. So your right knee is going to stay still now, your left is going out to the left. And you just rock into your outside of your little toe, so your knee, outside of your knee goes a little bit closer to the floor. Stay there for a second or two and really squeeze your bum muscles. I want you to feel a stretch on the inner thigh. And I want you to keep your pelvis as level as you can. We could put that spirit level across your hip bones. And the bubble will be right in the middle. So slow down a little bit, as long as you feel that you're not forcing a stretch on your body. So using the outer thigh and the bum muscles, contracting, and then you'll get a stretch on the inner thigh. And this is going to help if you, especially at the moment, you go for a walk, it's really muddy. If you come back from your walk and the sort of lower leg of your trousers is absolutely covered in mud, it could be your other foot's catching. So it could be you're a little bit tight on the inner thighs. So it does two things. It makes your legs more efficient and it saves on your washing. Win-win. So just check your trousers next time you come back from a walk. Good. If you've been for your walk already today, you can't go again to check. You're only allowed one a day. And then bring the soles of the feet together and let both knees separate. And now, especially if you're tight like me, you're always tight on those inner thighs, you're going to feel that stretch. If it feels uncomfortable with your lower back, you can just place your hands underneath you in that curve, or get your cushion under there if you want to. Because you really want to sort of let your muscles go on this stretch. It's a nice passive stretch. Again, any niggles in your lower back or your hips, just gently rock your weight from side to side, just like a boat gently rocking on some water. And that will just massage that tension away. Breathe deep. When you breathe in, fill up with air. And as you start to breathe out, send that air all the way down to those leg muscles. Feel them warm up and go nicely heavy as they get all that air around them. It's all imagery. It's not what we're really doing, but it's all this imagery to just get muscles to relax. So just imagine that warm air blowing around those muscles. Okay, bring the knees back to centre. Now we're just going to do a little bit of work around the lower back. So we're going to start with our leg coming into centre. So straighten your right leg along the floor and get your calf down. Get your neutral spine, get your weight centred on your hips. With your left leg, if you've got a hip replacement or your hips are a bit sore, this might be as much as you want to do. So stay here. Otherwise, lift that left foot off the floor and bring it to your knee fold position. And then start to bring it towards you. Don't grab instinctively with your arm. Let your leg bring that leg in, let your leg muscles bring that knee as close as they can, and then reach with your hands. So all your hands do is add on a little bit of weight. Relax the shoulders. Now just check while you're here that you've still got a nice curve in your lower back. Your straight leg, you've got your calf down on the floor. If it's too much, bend that straight leg and just put your foot on the floor instead, just to release some of the stretch. What I don't want you to do is just tilt your pelvis back, because there's no stretch in the hamstrings that we're looking for here. Relax the shoulders. And this is going to stretch hamstrings and glutes, and just start to loosen the back of the hip a little bit. While we're here, nothing better to do, we might as well circle the out foot on that bent leg. So we're getting some circulation going into the lower leg, some mobilising of the ankle. Again, just let your arms go nicely heavy against the back of that thigh, and try and relax the leg muscles, and that will draw the knee closer in towards your chest without you consciously doing anything. And change legs. Straighten that leg out. And it's straight out along the floor, so you can feel your calf down on the floor. Bend your right leg and stay here if your hips are a little bit sore or your lower back's a bit sore. Otherwise, lift the foot and bring it towards you, and then you can reach with your arms, with your hands. Sink into the floor. Try and keep a neutral pelvis though, so keep your pelvis down on the floor, don't tilt back into your lower spine. And breathe. And while you're lying there, circle your foot. Our main aim on this stretch is that gap between the legs when we're striding out. So don't let your foot circling detract from that other stretch. So you're always trying to think about this bent leg coming in towards you, even though your foot's moving around. See that quite a bit. People grab on the leg, forget about it and focus on their foot. And you might be missing a bit of extra stretch out, which is a shame, isn't it? Okay, then we're going to do a specifically lower back, so you can have your feet down on the floor and tilt the pelvis backwards and forwards if that suits you better. You're just getting those joints just in the arch of your back, moving slightly. Or you can bring your knees in towards your chest, whatever suits you better. Don't yank on the legs, just hold them in position. Round the back of the legs is a little bit better on the knees because you're not pressing on the knee joint. Have the knees apart and the feet apart if you want to. A little bit more in the thigh stretch. And let the weight of your legs come towards you and your pelvis just gently tilt back. So you've got no curve now. Because the pelvis is tilted back, it's taking the curve out. So we're decompressing the lower spine a bit. And breathe. Relax the shoulders. Relax the neck. You can rock your legs gently backwards and forwards if you want, just to massage the lower back. And you'll feel that curve appear and disappear as the pelvis tilts backwards and forwards. So you're opening and closing those joints in your lower back. Front abdominal muscles are stretching and contracting. Lower back muscles are stretching and contracting. Just gently loosening, and then you move round. Bring your legs together and move around in a circular motion if you want. Oh, it's all good, isn't it, eh? Oh, we forget how good it is being down here. We'll be down here all day, won't we, if we remembered? I don't know where that voice came from. There'll be a Monty Python appearing, I don't know why. Just not talking to enough people, that's the trouble. Making my own voices up. Right, put your feet down and have a good stretch out. Really lengthen from the soles of your feet all the way up the legs, all the way up the torso, all the way up. Check you don't bring your shoulders up though. All the way through the neck, right the way through to your fingertips. Stretch out. And then bend your knees. You're going to sit up. So hands underneath you or by your sides, and use your arms to help you. So push yourself up to sitting. Wait for the world to stop spinning. And we're going to do some work lying on your front now. So flip yourself over. You might want your cushion just to rest your forehead on, so you're not overworking your neck muscles to stop your nose pressing into the floor. Arms down by your sides. Now before we get going, I need you to set your lower body. The lower body isn't lying there really passive, it's going to play a part. So I want you to just tense your thigh muscles a little bit, almost like you're pulling your knees slightly away from the floor, and I want you to squeeze your belly a little bit as if you're about to cough. And those muscles need to stay working just to support the weight of the lower body. Relax your shoulders down. You're lying with your arms on the floor and your back of your hands on the mat to start with. And all I want you to do is pull your shoulder blades and your elbows towards each other so your hands sort of turn inwards. Hold it for a second or two and then relax back out again. So put the back of your hands on the floor. People get carried away with this one. They think they've got to lift their arms high, but you're not working. I want you to work across your back. So if you think about pulling your shoulder blades in and your elbows in, with your legs and your belly tight enough to support themselves, and you squeeze your elbows in towards each other for a few seconds and let them go. And you'll probably feel it in the back of your arms. So have another go, squeeze. So you're not trying to lift yourself off the floor at this point, that's coming in a minute. This is just getting the back of the shoulder, the back of the arm, just starting to get them working to help us. And release. One more. Squeeze the elbows together, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Tense the legs and the belly so you feel that you're not pressing too heavy into your mat. And release. Now we're going to come into swan dive. If you find swan dive doesn't suit you, you can stay working on what you've just done, because that's once you get the shoulders stronger and the back of the arms stronger, then swan dive becomes easier. But otherwise, tense the legs a little bit, suck the belly in. Make sure your tailbone is pointing down towards your heels. It hasn't tilted up towards the ceiling. Stretch your spine a little bit. Pull your shoulders and elbows in, and then use your upper back muscles just to lift you slightly, just so the pressure disappears off your chest a bit. Squeeze your bum. Push your tailbone away, down towards your heels. Hold that position, and back to the floor. Now, on these exercises, if I do it wrong, it kind of saves you a lot of time and injury. So what tends to happen sometimes on this, if you're not sure, people try and push into the floor with their belly. One, it makes you feel sick, and two, you're not engaging your upper back muscles. You're actually making your belly do the work. So we're not going to do that. So you're going to pull your shoulder blades and elbows together, tense the legs, stretch your spine, and then you're going to use your upper back muscles just to lift you slightly. Just as if you forget your glasses when you go out from under, you can't read the menu and you have to lean back slightly. It's just that, just lift up. Tense the legs and back to the floor. If you're trying to lift too high, then you contract, you can strip the lower back joints, and we're not looking to do that. So shoulders, elbows, stretch, tense the legs and up. Really using those upper back muscles to hold you up. So you're really still in a straight line. And back down. We're going to do one more if you can. So squeeze, stretch the spine, tense the legs and lift. Check you're not holding your breath, should still be able to breathe. And down, well done. Have a quick rest. What's next? Alright, yeah, we're going to work the arms out. Now, if you've got any shoulder injuries, which means you can't bring your arms out in front, I want you to keep your arms down by your sides with the back of your hands on the floor and lift your arm up that way. So you're still working your arms without doing any injury to your shoulder. So that's your alternative if the next move isn't going to suit you. The rest of your arms are out in front, and we're going to do a little bit of swimming. So pull the shoulders back and down, tense the belly and the legs to support their own weight. Tailbone points down towards the heels, and then you're going to lift your right arm just off the floor. Won't come a long way, it might come as low as your ear, but that'll be about it. And down, and the same on the left. And you're just going from side to side. You're still looking down at your mat, you're just raising your arm off. As you lift your arm, just gently pull your shoulder back and down slightly. You can have your arm bent, it doesn't have to be locked out. Keeping your chest on the floor but not pressing heavy into it. Use those upper back muscles just slightly, just to support your weight. Now next time you lift your arm, you're going to leave it there, you're going to squeeze your belly button to your spine, you're going to squeeze your bum, and you're going to lift the opposite leg just slightly off the floor without arching your back. So you've got one hand and one foot off the mat. And down. When you're ready, stretch, tense the legs, suck the belly in, lift the opposite arm, leave it there, squeeze your bum and pull the opposite foot off the floor. So you're lifting your leg. It's not going to lift a long way, and I don't want you to feel it in your lower back. So make sure you're pulling your belly button to your spine enough that your pelvis doesn't tilt forward as you lift the leg. Check your shoulders aren't around your ears. So lift the arm first, then lift the leg. Use your upper back muscles just enough to stop you pressing heavy into the floor. So remember, you always want to kind of float rather than sink. Everybody wants to float, not sink. One more. Just feel that you're stretching out, really using the muscles in the back of your body. Okay, we're going to come up for a second just to stretch out from that one. So if you bring your hands by your shoulders, push yourself up onto your knees and then sit back and have a nice back stretch. Have your knees apart if you want to, just to stretch that lower back out, because even though we're trying to keep it neutral, it does tighten up a bit when we're lying down on the front. Okay, we're going to do that move again and make it more of a Pilates move. So lie yourself down on your mat again when you're ready. Bring your hands about level with your shoulders. Now I want you to tense your legs and just tuck your toes a little bit. And like we just did, you might have been focusing on what you're doing then. We're going to come up to the knees. So you're going to push down on your hands, keeping your back straight, suck your belly in and push yourself up onto your hands and knees. And back down again. It's a kind of a reverse press up. So hands about just underneath your shoulders so you can put most of your weight on your arms. Toes are tucked to help you. Back stays nice and straight, so we're not arching it. We push down on the hands, tighten the torso and push ourselves up and back on the knees. You can stay with this. I'm going to make it more difficult if you want. If you can, just bring your hands slightly further forward, and then when you push yourself up, stay in 3/4 plank. So you push up, but you don't push back into hands and knees position. And down again. Really keep that back straight, so you're sucking your belly in, tilting your pelvis so your tailbone doesn't drift up to the ceiling, not sticking your belly out. Push down on your hands, keeping your back straight, push yourself up to 3/4 plank. Back down again. I'm going to do one more at this level and then we're going to try full plank, if you want to. So push yourself up, really use your arms and your back strength to push yourself up. Don't collapse down, slowly down. Full plank if you can, have your legs straight. You're going to tense your legs, put your hands in a position where you can get most support. They might need to go a bit wider out. Find that position where you feel they're going to support you the best. Tense your body, squeeze your butt. When you're ready, 3, 2, 1, up to full plank. And slowly down. It's a tough one this, so if you feel that you're bending your spine, stay on your knees. Find that arm position, tense the body, push your weight through to your heels. 3, 2, 1, up. Really think about using that upper body strength. And slowly down. One more go if you can. Have a rest, find your position. Stretch the spine. 3, 2, 1, up. Good. And sit back. Nice stretch now. Feel free to do more of those if you want to. It was arm day for me yesterday. Well, that's as many as I'm doing. Right, so have your knees apart, bring your arms through the centre. Let your chest sink down to the floor. Relax the neck. Relax the shoulders. A bit of side stretching if you want to. Take your torso, line your nose up with your, in my case, left knee, and bring your arms either side of your ears. Now, because I'm over to my left knee, my stretch is going to be on my right side. So I've got to make sure I line the right side of my pelvis up with my left side. And then back to centre. Same on the other side. So I'm going to take my nose over and line it up with my right knee, bring my arms either side. But I've got to make sure that left pelvis, that left hip, lines up with the right side, and then I'll get a stretch down the left side. Remember, your alternative, if that really doesn't suit you, sitting on your bum and reaching over is the same. It's going to be the same stretch. The only thing, again, you have to make sure is as you go over to the right, the left side stays down. You're not kind of coming over. So you press down through that other side and you'll get more of a stretch. Back to this one. Again, you're going to feel this stretch more on one side than the other because of how we sit and how we use our bodies. We're not symmetrical when we move around and when we carry things, and it has an effect. Okay, now we're going to do a familiar move. So we're going to come forward into 3/4 plank and then back into child's pose. So we're getting our weight shifting around and trying to hold the shapes. So onto your hands and knees, bring your hands further forward, and you're going to come into that 3/4 plank again, pushing away with your hands, tucking your tailbone down and tightening your belly. Really push the floor away, use your upper body strength. Then back up onto your hands and knees and sit your hips back. You can bring your hands with you a bit to reduce the stretch, and forward again. So you're just going forward and back, but you're not allowing your body to collapse into that arch. So tuck the tailbone, suck the belly button in, pull the shoulders down, and back, and sitting back. So you just release the stretch when you sit back. Release the strength work, I mean. Push the floor away with your arms. And again, you can stay with this level, or I'm going to build it into full plank and pike if you want to. So for that, next time you come forward, push down into your hands, tuck your toes, straighten your right leg, make sure your weight's correct, then straighten your left leg. You're holding that weight away from the floor. From there, push your hips up, so you're making a V shape with your body. Press your chest out and back to that plank. Don't collapse in the centre. Push the floor away, hold a straight line. Push up from the hips first and then bring your chest towards your knees, so you make that V shape. Don't worry if your heels are a long way from the floor. As long as you're pushing your hips up and pushing the heels of your hands into the floor, you're going to get the right work. And then as you straighten out, find that plank shape. Don't let your hips collapse forwards towards the mat. Push down through your arms, lift yourself away from that floor. One more, push your hips up. Chest to knees, hips to the ceiling, push your hands into the floor. Nice stretch in the arms. And straighten out. Back to the knees, back to your rest, into your child's pose. Nice bit of stretching. I'm going to do a bit of threading the needle now, just to get some rotation of the shoulders. So you're going to take your right hand off the floor, turn it over and slide it through. So it goes past your left wrist. So you're bringing your right shoulder down towards the floor, a little twist in the upper body. Try and keep your backside up to the ceiling. Then bring it back, and if you want to, reach that right hand up to the ceiling. Now press your chest forward and release. Same on the other side, so turn your hand, reach through, send your left shoulder down towards the floor, bring it back through And as you reach up to the ceiling, push down into your supporting arm and press the chest out. Down from side to side. We're getting the obliques, the side muscles starting to work now. So as you bring the hand through, think about sending the shoulder down. Little twist. Pull the other shoulder back. So in my case, my right hand's going through, so my right shoulder's going down, my left shoulder's going to pull back slightly. And then back, and you reverse that. So as my right hand goes up, my right shoulder pulls back, my left shoulder pulls through. And again, left hand goes through, left shoulder goes down, right shoulder pulls back. Come back, left hand goes up, left shoulder pulls back, right shoulder goes through. And release. Once more each side. Through, bum in the air, head on the floor. And reach. You're really trying to rotate that upper body, so push into your supporting arm. Reach. Send the shoulder down. And reach. Press the chest out. Quite often I see people, they've rotated just to try and get that hand to the ceiling. It's all about the torso. So push your hand into the floor, pull that top shoulder back as you reach up. Lovely. And a quick rest. Okay, some side lying work now. So over you go. Get your cushion or whatever underneath your head. Line your shoulders up. We're going to start with chest opener. So you want your knees bent. You can have them stacked like this, or you can have your top leg in front. But use these upper back muscles now. They're there to stop us collapsing forward and putting strain on the lower back. So keep lifting the chest and pulling the waist in. Top arm out in front, about level with your shoulder. Get yourself comfy and then lift that arm up. Use that strength in the back of the shoulder to raise your arm. Stretch your spine. And as you start to twist, a little bit of pressure in the legs. Note for any contraction, any pressure in that lower back, stop. Something's not in the quite right position. You might need to just adjust. If it feels all right as you start to twist, again, you're sending this shoulder down and a little press into the knees, into the legs, so you're allowing that rotation. Back up, stack the shoulders, keep them stacked as you pull the arm to the floor. And repeat. So lift, stretch the spine and pull the waist in, and then start to twist. So sending the shoulder down, opening the chest towards the ceiling. Little pressure in the legs. It's very tempting just to drop back in your hip because you go further, but they're not rotating then. So we've got to keep the hips still. If you really struggle with it, top leg in front of bottom leg will just give you a little bit more support so you can twist a little bit further. If it's a bit tight today, one leg in front of the other just gives you a little bit more support. And up. And repeat. Lift and twist. Relax the shoulder. Smash it. Once more. Lift and twist. Really good for those side abdominals as well. Smash it. Okay, then we're going to get onto the legs. So we're going to work on the inner and outer thigh. So you can keep the bottom leg bent to start with. We're just going to work the top leg. Square your hips up. What I mean by that is sometimes if we haven't got enough support around the muscles in the centre, we tend to drop down so the top hip is not lined up with the bottom hip. So pull the waist in so your pelvis is level, and then you're going to use your outer thigh muscles to lift and lower your top leg. It's not going a long way because I want you to keep the waist muscles tight, like you've got a big thick belt around your middle. That hip cannot travel towards the ribs. So the only way you're going to get that leg to lift is to use your outer thigh, your bum and your lower leg muscles to pull that leg up and down. Good. Really use the side of your bum muscles, squeeze it. You can put your hand there if you want to feel those muscles contract. You know they're working. Draw the waist in. Keep pulling the waist away from the floor underneath you. And relax your shoulders. It's going to work the side of your bum muscles, which support your hip, your knee and your ankle when you're walking. Okay, now I want you to lift that top leg to almost your maximum stretch, so you can feel your bum muscles working, and leave it there. Then I want you to straighten your bottom leg, and we're only going to work the bottom leg. We're not going to lift it very far, but I want you to use the inner thigh muscles to pull that bottom leg just slightly off the floor and down again. But again, your pelvis has got to stay level. You see people who do this and don't want to use the inner thigh muscles, or can't, they kind of rock into the floor, you get the kind of action going on. Pull the waist in and tense the inner thigh as you try and lift that leg up. So it's not a massive lift. You're going to feel your bum muscles on your top leg working to hold that leg up, and you're just bringing the bottom leg towards it and away from it slightly. So working your inner thigh muscles on that bottom leg. Keep that top leg lifted. It's going to try and drop down because it's going to get tired. You're welcome. Check your shoulder. If these legs start to get very tired, then your body looks for other ways of doing the move, and it will start to push onto your shoulder. That's telling you you've got to stop, because you're going to get a poorly shoulder. We're going to do a few scissors if we can. So next time you lift that bottom leg off the floor, keep it lifted. You might need to lift that top leg a bit higher if it's gone a bit low, and then you're going to scissor. So you're using your inner thigh and outer thigh muscles to hold the leg in position, and then front and back thigh muscles to move the blooming things. Scissor in your legs. Top hand can just sit on the floor if you need to for a bit of balance, but try and get that glide. Pull the legs apart. Keep using your top thigh muscles and your bum muscles to keep that top leg lifted. Really move from your hips. Couple more. And rest. You're going to feel that tomorrow. Right, a little bit of side plank and then we'll move over. So side plank, up you come. I'm going to do the one on the elbow today just for a bit of a change, but you can come up onto your hand if you want. Top leg straight, bottom leg bent. If you are on your bottom arm with it on the forearm, make sure your elbow is underneath your shoulder. If it's your hand directly underneath the shoulder. And then you're going to pull the waist muscles up in. Use your upper back muscles to support the back so you're not bent forward. And then you're going to lift this top hip up off the floor. And your arm's going to come up and over. And as your arm reaches for the wall, pull that hip up a little bit higher. And back to the floor. See this quite a lot, and I'm one for doing it as well. You look down at your arm, and the problem is if you look down at your arm, there's a little twist go on. So try and look forward. Use your upper back muscles to support the upper back, and then think about lifting sideways. Okay, you're going upwards, and then your arm comes up and over, and you can lift a little bit more. Really pull that hip from the floor. If you're feeling that in your arm or your shoulder and it doesn't suit you, your alternative is to come up onto your knees and sway. But think about pulling yourself back to centre. Back to your plank. So you can do this up on your hand if you want to. I just felt like having a bit of a change today. Whichever suits you. But try and look forward and use these upper back muscles like you did in your swan dive. And really squeeze that hip off the floor. Lift yourself up. Focus on the going up rather than pushing on your elbow. Think about lifting up from the waist. A couple more. Get yourself comfy. Lift yourself up. Really use those upper back muscles. They're going to really help you. Pull the waist in. Good. One more. Lift that hip up. And down. And other side. So over you go. Get your cushion. Chest open to start with. Always nice to start with chest opener, isn't it? Down you get. Get yourself comfortable. This bottom shoulder, make sure it's down. This is where a towel sometimes comes in between your shoulder and your head. So just wedge there helps. Knees bent, shoulders back and down. Arm out in front, don't overreach. Roll the shoulders back and then lift your arm. So you're just pointing towards the ceiling. Shoulders are stacked. Then you start to twist, and you're looking for any pinching. If you feel it, you come back, reset the legs. If there's no pinching, you start to twist. Little press into the legs to keep the pelvis still, so the twist is from the upper body. Out of the twist. Shoulders stacked as you lower your hand to the floor. Check these, people. Remember, if you are a bit of a sloucher, your body will be used to that overreaching feeling. So really focus on keeping the chest out, shoulders down. The more you practice, it's just bad habits, that we've all got them. The more you're aware of them, the more you can put them right. So you're pressing into the legs, a little twist. Relax the neck. Back to the ceiling, stack the shoulders and bring the arm down. Keep pulling the waist in. Twist, nice. Just a little bit of pressure. Remember, if you prefer one leg in front of the other, so you can actually use your legs a little bit more to help you if you've got one in front of the other, because both legs are giving you a bit more stability. Back to the ceiling, lower the arm. I'm going to do a couple more. Reach and rotate. Send that shoulder down towards the floor and the back of the hand down towards the floor. Gently press the chest out. Last one. Reach and rotate. Breathe right through to your fingertips. Support your head. And twist and lower. Then we're going to get onto the legs. You like this one, didn't you? So first we're just going to work the top leg. So you're going to take the top leg out straight to the foot end of your mat. Keep your bottom leg bent. Reset the shoulders as you need to. And draw your waist and your belly in. Now square the hips up so the top hip isn't closer to you than the bottom hip. And then use the outer thigh muscles to lift and lower this top leg. So what we're doing now is making sure that when we do move the leg, we're not using these lower back joints. So the pelvis is fixed. Keep the hips as square as you can. Less is more really on this move. If you're not sure you're doing it properly, don't lift the leg as high. Because you'll start to feel, if you're not lifting as high, you'll start to feel your side bum muscles working. And you'll get that strength. If you keep lifting really high, you won't know what's working and what isn't, because you can't really feel anything. Really squeeze the bum cheek on this top leg. Good. Use your upper back muscles so you're not slouching forward. It's very easy when you're doing a leg exercise to forget everything else because you're so focused on the pain in the legs. So really pull the shoulders back and down, support that upper body. And do a couple more of this, just the top leg. Then we're going to work, the top leg's going to stay static and the bottom leg's going to start to move. So lift the top leg almost to where you can feel the most work, just slightly off, and straighten the bottom leg. Now square your hips up again, and then you're just going to lift your bottom leg up and down a little bit, not bending the knee. Not too high, because I don't want you to push on the hip bone itself. I just want you to think about using the inner thigh muscles. You're going to be aware of the top leg working because those muscles are contracted and holding a contraction. So you're going to feel them. Stretch out, pull your weight out of those hips, don't sink into them. Keep lifting that top leg if it's dropping down. Keep it up. You're welcome. Okay, now you've got that bottom leg just off the floor, so the inner thigh muscles are engaged. Top leg lifted maybe a little bit higher, so stop it dragging. And then you're going to scissor. So one leg forward, one leg back. Really use these hips now. When you think about pulling the feet apart. Good. If you feel that you're just pressing on your hip bone underneath you, lower that bottom leg slightly and lift the top leg a bit higher. Yeah, can you feel your bum muscles singing? Couple more, come on. Use your hips, nice big strides, and then bend your legs. Good, right, then we just got our side plank to work the centre and the shoulder, and we're back on our back again. So elbow or hand, shoulders back and down, and look forward. So stack your hips, stack your shoulders. When you're ready, you're going to think about the top left hip going up. So lift it, bring your arm up and over, and as your arm comes over and reaches for the wall past your head, you're going to lift your hip a bit higher. Really pull your waist muscles in and back to the floor. So look forward, upper back muscles working as in that swan dive, just pulling you slightly back, and then lift, reach with your arm and lift your hip a bit higher, really squeezing. Remember, you've got your on your knees swaying if side plank isn't for you. Think about lifting up rather than pushing down on your elbow. Reach with your arm and pull that hip away from the floor. On your hand if you prefer. Whatever suits you better. Really pull the waist away from the floor. I want you to feel these waist muscles underneath you really working as you squeeze that hip away from the mat. If you're getting cramp in the bottom leg, then you're using that leg a bit too much. So think about using your upper back muscles, pull your shoulders down, and when you want to go up, it's coming from this hip lifting itself up, and arm reaches over. Couple more if we can. Upper back engaged, hip goes up, arm comes over, lift the hip a smidge higher, really crunch in that centre. Last one, up you come, slow reach with the arm and a little more lift with the hip, and down. Well done. Okay, we're going to lie on the back now. We're going to do a nice bit of supine twist just to loosen up after that one, because that's quite a tough one. So back on your back, cushion underneath your head if you want to, get yourself set, and we're just going to do a supine twist like we did in the warm-up. So we've got the knees and feet together, arms out to the side, and we're just going to twist from side to side. So we're getting these side muscles to work, but they're getting to have a nice bit of a stretch. Turn your head if you want to. And because we're really warm now, we can hold this stretch a lot longer. So you can stay there for a couple of breaths if you want to. Really allow that top hip to come up and over a little bit more. Knees might separate, that's fine. But just because you're so warm, your muscles are really flexible now, and you can stay in that stretch. Don't keep pushing though, you've always got your maximum stretch. If you keep pushing, eventually you're going to tear something. So you just go to your maximum stretch where it feels comfortable and stay there. And again, over. Think about bringing this top hip over, line it up with the bottom side. Once more. And we're going to finish with our hip lifts, just to get the bum muscles working and stretch out the front of these hips and legs. So reset yourself. If you have got a cushion underneath your head, you need to take it away on this move. You can put it between your knees. If you put it between your knees, then you're going to work these inner thigh muscles a bit more, so always a bit useful. Toes facing forward, feet close enough to your bum that when you do a little bit of a lift and try and get your backside just off the floor, there's no cramping in the back of your legs. Because if they're cramped straight away, then your feet are too far away. So find your position, reset your shoulders and your neck, and as you think about lifting, you're going to keep your spine straight and use your shoulders and your feet as your anchors. So pull the belly in a little bit and start to lift your hips off the floor, pressing into your feet and your shoulders the same amount so you can straighten the middle, lifting up into a straight line. Really stretch the front of the hips and back down again. This goes wrong. Either people, rather than going up, they kind of tilt the pelvis and they squeeze the front abdominals too much, and then you feel it in your lower back. Or as they start to go up, they slide along the mat. So you want equal pressure on your shoulders and your feet. So when you start to lift, the hip straightens out and lifts you. pushing down into the centre of your feet, not your heels, will help you lift your hips a bit higher. Pulling your shoulders down away from your ears. And really lift those hips, feel your bum muscles working. And back to the floor. We want to stretch out these hips. If you've been sitting a lot, they're going to be really tight and they need a good stretch. So ground down, shoulders, hips, lift up. Pull your shoulders down away from your ears. Now, while we stay here, it's a bit boring just staying up here, and it will want something to do. So while we're here, keep the hips up, put your arms on the floor as if you're pointing towards your heels, and then lift your hands off the floor, point to the ceiling, and then bring your arms back, point to the wall behind you, and lift your hips a bit higher if you can. Keep your hips up as you bring your hands back up and point to the ceiling. Now you're going to bring your hands down, and it's like your hands are lowering your hips. So your hands and your hips come to the floor. Reset. If you've run out of mat or your t-shirts come up around your ears, and we'll do it again. Ground down through shoulders and feet and lift. Press into the centre of your feet and lift your hips a bit higher if you can. Hands flat to the floor, fingers pointing towards the feet, and then lift the arms up. Check your knees haven't widened. Your legs should be parallel. And then start to bring your arms back, so the back of your hands are touching the floor, and see if you can lift your hips a smidge higher without arching your back. Back to the ceiling with your arms and push down. And do that again. Ground down through shoulders and feet. Lift up. Pull your shoulders down around your ears and lift your hips maybe a bit higher, but no, don't arch your back to do it. Lift your arms up and back. And you might find you can just push those hips a smidge higher, but neutral. Don't tilt your pelvis forward. Really feel those bum muscles working. Squeeze the knees together if they've drifted apart. Hands back to the ceiling, down to the floor. Well done. Bring your knees into your chest. Hug them in if that feels good. Nice little back stretch we're doing for time. Yeah, pretty good, so not bad. It's like I've done this before, isn't it? Alright, just let your legs rock backwards and forwards. Massage the back. And then put your hands on the back of your legs just to hold onto them. As you push your legs forward this time, allow them to bring you up off the floor. So you're going to push forward with your legs, holding on, and roll yourself up to a sitting position. Roll the shoulders back. Nice big rolls. With your knees bent, you're going to allow your weight to come forward over your legs. Breathe into your back, and then you're going to pull yourself up straight, and you're using your back muscles to pull you up straight. Once you're up straight, you're going to put your hands on the floor behind you and press your chest forward. Just rest on your fingertips, pull your shoulders back and down and press your chest out. And do that again. So just come forward, let your shoulders come forward, breathe into your back. Use your back muscles, really think about pulling yourself up. Stack your spine, and then reach back, put your hands on the floor, pull your elbows and your shoulders together and press your chest out. Do that once more and I'll let you finish. Make it a good one. So come forward, breathe into your back, really release any pressure in that lower spine, and then reset, build yourself up from tailbone to crown. Hands back, just rest on your fingers and press your chest forward. And you're done, and you didn't even have to get on your feet today. Make up for it next time, you'll be on your feet a lot next time. So that's something to look forward to. Have a good week, keep yourself safe and busy, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.